Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with a Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about why a Beastmen vs Wood Elf DLC seems very highly unlikely, and more specifically why we're not going to have a Wood Elf rework and Beastmen rework coming out at the exact same time. So without further ado, let's begin. There is no question about it when you see various posts on different forums that state that both the Wood Elves and the Beastmen need drastic reworks. While both races are unique and played rather well by Total War Warhammer 1 standards, with the release of Total War Warhammer 2 and all the faction reworks that have come with it, the Wood Elves and the Beastmen have fallen behind quite drastically. Obviously the Warriors of Chaos have too, but we are aware that they're getting updated in Game 3. The reason why people believe these two factions are getting reworked next is because a few months ago during a CA livestream, some members of the CA team stated that more or less they were actively looking into updating all races as to leave them on an even playing field when Total War Warhammer 2 finishes. As far as anyone's aware, including myself, there's only one more DLC pack left in the Total War Warhammer 2 lifespan. And even then, we're not sure if this DLC is happening or not, as confirmed in the Reddit Ask Me Anything post. As obviously the recent pandemic could indeed slow down production of DLC. This is understandable, of course. It's not like they're just shelving it because they want to. Now, if this DLC does go ahead, it can be assumed that a faction rework will also come alongside it with the accompanying patch. As every Warhammer 1 race that has been updated in Warhammer 2 has always come alongside an accompanying patch to a paid-for DLC, regardless if it is a Lord pack or a race pack. To my memory at the time of recording this video at least. So as there may only be one DLC tied to Warhammer 2 left, people have started speculating, which of course is only natural. I've seen a lot of people posting that they believe that the last DLC for Warhammer 2 will involve the Wood Elves and the Beastmen, with either both races being the main attraction for the Lord pack, or one would be the main race against the Warhammer 2 race, and the other would be part of the FLC pack. As interesting as that does sound, and to be honest this is something I would really like myself, we have to be a bit realistic here. Both of those races require extensive reworks, and I'm not talking about the same level as the Dwarfs and the Vampire counts, but more on the lines of Bretonnia and the Empire, which were a bit more drastic. Possibly even more so, considering both the state of the Beastmen and the Wood Elves. We would have to take into account how much development time gets put into a rework, especially if these races need drastic ones. There might have to be a lot of work to be done. Obviously the DLC itself wouldn't suffer, but if both races are being worked on for the same patch, it would mean that development time would have to be split between both races, which would potentially give us lackluster reworks for both, and could possibly delay the planned DLC even further. We also have to take into account the cost of development for any faction rework. Is the cost of development for two racial reworks financially viable when it comes to releasing both at the exact same time? Normally DLC packs aren't rather expensive for what you pay for. You usually get a bunch of new units, 2 legendary lords, a bunch of new mechanics, and obviously we get the FLC lord and faction too. Pair that with a racial rework, which we've seen happen before, and they can still make a profit. However, add in a second racial rework and, well, maybe the extra development time cuts into their profit. At the end of the day, Creative Assembly is a business after all, and they need to make sure that if they're going to be releasing these low-cost DLC packs, that it's still financially viable for them. A business needs to make money. If it doesn't, then it will go under and we won't see any new content or any new games. Now, I can already see the potential argument in the comments section, where some might be saying that if both the Beastmen and the Wood Elves got reworked together, people might be more inclined to purchase the Realm of the Wood Elves DLC or the Call of the Beastmen DLC. And yes, while that is technically true, is there any way that Creative Assembly can be able to guarantee that people will go and buy the former DLC packs? If new legendary lords either by DLC or FLC standards were released for these reworks, you would already have playable access to these races. The only reason you'd want to purchase the other race packs is if, for example, you wanted access to Orion or Malagor. So you wouldn't need the original DLCs to play in the Eye of the Vortex campaign, and if you already own Warhammer 1, in theory you should be able to play these races without needing the original race packs for the Mortal Empires campaign too. And in all honesty, unless they drastically reduce the price for the original DLC packs, it wouldn't be worth it to you. The reason why the Call of the Beastmen and Realm of the Wood Elves DLC packs cost more or less the same as any other race pack isn't because they have the same amount of units and legendary lords, but rather because they had a mini campaign attached to them, which you wouldn't be playing unless you went back to Total War Warhammer 1, which would then have the races in their original form. It kinda defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Don't get me wrong, I rather enjoy the mini campaigns, but this isn't about that. So unless the original packs were permanently reduced in price, then maybe people would be more inclined to purchase the old DLCs, but even then that can't be guaranteed. So obviously one rework per DLC pack makes sense here, which means that a DLC between the Wood Elves and the Beastmen would be very highly unlikely. Obviously both races need their overhaul, this is something that cannot be argued. Instead, in my personal opinion, I believe the following. The Wood Elves should be the one to receive their rework next, and the Beastmen should receive their rework in Total War Warhammer 3. My reasoning is as follows. Firstly, most of the lore-friendly locations where you would be able to see Wood Elves have been added into the game already, with Total War Warhammer 3 looking like it's going to be around the area of the Darklands, which doesn't really have that many Wood Elf locations, whereas the Beastmen can practically be anywhere in the Warhammer fantasy world. This also makes sense for the Beastmen to be updated in Game 3, purely for the reason that Game 3 is supposed to be utter chaos. If we're going to see big updates for other Chaos factions, it would also make sense for the Screaming Goats to finally get their day in the spotlight there. I know Beastmen players would probably be disappointed by this, but first off, remember that this is purely speculative, and secondly, if you compare both the Wood Elves and the Beastmen to each other, the Beastmen are at least more playable. You can do a campaign and still have the usual horde functions like you would for the Warriors of Chaos, so you already know what you're doing, whereas the Wood Elves are rather limited by their campaign mechanic, especially regarding Amber. That's a big problem there, and seeing as the diplomacy system in Total War Warhammer is actually quite lacking, it does make a bit of an issue when trying to gain access to allies to be able to get some more amber. And seeing as your outposts aren't really that defendable, you really can't get a decent supply of amber, which obviously limits you gameplay wise. In my honest opinion, I believe the Wood Elves need it before the Beastmen, but obviously we may have conflicting ideas here. Now, before we end this video, there is also something of interest to point out regarding this. It could be very much possible that we might not see a rework for both the Wood Elves and the Beastmen until Total War Warhammer 3, simply because there seems to be a hint that the next DLC or FLC might feature the vampire counts. The reason why I state this is because in the most recent patch update, which was that of the Warden and the Paunch at the time of recording this video, they've recently added in a new province for the vampire count NPC factions, the Marshes of Madness. This is a new province located in the Badlands with 2 new settlements. Now, why is this relevant? Well, simply put, this could be a hint on the next possible DLC faction for the next content pack. Seeing as in the previous DLC to this, which was the Shadow and the Blade, we saw a minor greenskin faction being added into the lands of the Empire, which many people took as a hint that Grom was eventually going to be added in. Well, that ended up being true in the Grim and the Paunch, so it could be that this is being done as a hint once again. Obviously this is purely speculative, but I'm curious to see what you guys think. Do you think that we'll get a Beastmen rework or a Wood Elf rework in the next upcoming DLC? Do you think they will be both featured together, or do you believe in the same way as I do in regards to it being too financially straining for them to be able to do both at the same time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion, shall we? But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various different social media links such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Using our special link and also the special code, which is also in the description below, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons, your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to Bertsche and Gibraltar LUSC for subscribing to us at our Fame level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule and VSVasan for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you guys enough. The money earned from Patreon is going directly back into the channel, slowly upgrading little bits and bobs, just trying to get to a higher level of content for you guys. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. The support has been insane lately, and honestly, we can't be more than excited. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.